So the Ashlesha, the Veda mantra says Ashlesha, it is also Ashlesha, so both are synonymous. And the Buddhist wisdom gives the white color for this nakshatra. And then, of course, Buddha is the Lord, and Sarpa is the Devata, and Brihaspati is the Adidevata for this, and Mantrokta Devataha, that means Pitra Devatas, are actually the Pratyadi Devatas. So, in our scheme of studying these nakshatras, I had mentioned we have to look at three levels, that is the Bhautika level, that is a physical level, the Daivika level, that is in the theology or the Devata behind a particular nakshatra, Adi Daivika, and also the Adhyatmika or the philosophical level. So in these three levels, we have to study all these nakshatras. So the physical level, the actual nakshatra, the Ashlesha Nakshatra is visible, and our very learned resident friend, a scholar in Jyotisha, Pooja Mishra, has already spoken on the Ashlesha Nakshatra. I think it is a cluster of 5 stars. Am I right, Pooja? I think it's a cluster of...
Actually, like in the shape of a snake.
In the shape of
a cluster, yeah.
Yeah, in the shape of a snake. So that is why the Devata is also actually the Sarpa Devata. So this Ashlesha Nakshatra having this body, the physical body, the Adidaiva is actually the various serpents, the important serpents in the Vedic wisdom. In fact, the Vasuki, a very well-known name in our Puranas, and you have Takshaka, you have Adishesha, on whom Lord Mahavishnu actually lies down. So as the mantra itself says, we will see in a minute the meaning of the mantra. As the mantra itself mentions, there are these Sarpa, Naga Devatas, or the serpent deities, both in the heaven realm, that is in the sky, as evidenced by the cluster of the stars. And they are also in the intermediate region, as well as on the earth, in fact even below the earth in the various Patala lokas. So this Sarpa Devatas, if you look at the mantra itself, Sarpebhyaha, Nakshatra Devatas are Sarpebhyaha, these Sarpebhyaha idam, that is this, our Yajnashala, Havihi Jushtam, that is whatever offerings we make to these devatas, Jushtam means let it be of great pleasure for them. Let them accept it with the great relish. So these Sarpa Devatas, that is Yesham Shetaha, these Sarpa Devatas actually have a mind, and they have their inclination. And this inclination is always follows the inclination of Lord Shiva. In fact, this is also one of the reasons why Shiva, one of the forms of Shiva, is also Sarpa. Among the 11 forms of Shiva, one of the forms is Sarpa, and then Shiva is associated in many ways with the serpents. In fact, he wears the Vasuki, the great serpent Vasuki. So if you look at the iconography of Shiva, Vasuki will be on the right shoulder of Shiva. That's how it should be depicted. And therefore, Vasuki is associated with Shiva, and obviously Vasuki, the Sarpa, actually Deva Anuyantu, that is Anuvartate, he actually follows, Vasuki follows Shiva's will. So whoever follows the will of Shiva is actually following the will of the Sarpas, who are the devatas of Ashlesha Nakshatra, and therefore when you invoke them to the Yajna Shala, they come and accept your oblations with relish. And then they can be antariksham prithivimcha kshiyanti. If you look at the mantra, antariksham, it is there even in the intermediate space. And then prithivimcha, even on the earth. Kshiyanti means adhivasanti, they actually live even in the on the earth itself. And then these sarpa devatas, naha havam, our offerings, our oblations in that yajna, agamishtaha, let them come with enthusiasm. In fact, many a time we are asked to go somewhere and then we go half-heartedly. Even if somebody invites us for a party, we go with half-heartedly, because you are obligated to be there, and therefore even though it's really inconvenient, but still you go. But here we are saying that because we are following your path, and you in turn is following the path of the devatas, and therefore we are all having the same approach to existence, same approach to life, and therefore you come to our altar accepting in great enthusiasm. So first of all, we ask of them not only to come to our altar, but also we ask them to come with enthusiasm. This is the Puronavakya, as I had mentioned. This is how we invoke the deity to our altar. So next part of the mantra is yajya. Yajya means the way in which the offering has to be made. These sarpas, interestingly, there is a parsing here by the mantra itself, that the sarpas are also in the realm of the sky. So Suryasya Rochane, Rochana in Vedic Sanskrit means mandala, or in the orb of the sun. So in the orb of the sun, those sarpa devatas who are in the orb of the sun, and those who actually lend the shining to Surya and also borrow the shining of the Surya by closely following Surya, this Ashlesha Nakshatra Devata, then they are following the desire of the gods, Kama Anuyanti, and then such sarpas, such who are the devatas of the Ashlesha Nakshatra, Madhumat, Madhuram Havim. Madhumat means our very sweet offerings, both physical offerings as well as our spiritual offerings. Both of these, with these things, I offer my oblations to the Sarpa Devatas. So this is the Puronavakya and the Yajya of the Ashlesha Nakshatra. So a little bit of etymology. The word Ashlesha comes from the root shlish. Shlish means to embrace. Shlish also means to connect, to contact. So connection and contact, the effective connection and contact is for the sake of experiencing a Vishaya. A Vishaya is something that pleases our senses, both physical senses as well as our emotion and the intellect. So how does this happen? This happens in 4 ways. So when the mantra is saying agamishtha, that means come with full energy, it has to come in 4 forms. The first form is called samepya. It must come close to us. These devatas must come in our proximity. And the devatas must embrace us. That is why it is Ashlesha is the second form. And the third is we must be completely pervaded by the experience of the divine. It's called Vyapti. And finally, it must give us a support or adhara. So there is a Shastra Vakya which says that 4 kinds of perfect engagement is Samepya, Ashlesha, Vishayaihi, Vyaptihi, Adharaha, Chaturvidaha. So in these 4 ways, whenever a contact happens, say for example, we are studying the Veda, so we have to be in close proximity of the mantra. And the mantras and its meaning must embrace our mind. And our mind should become so sharp that its entire pervasive meaning is available in our thinking. And finally, it must give a support and adhara for our future existence. Because Vedic knowledge is the one which gives support. And whenever we have got support, obviously there will be no fear. So fearlessness is again symbolized by Shiva actually wearing the snake around his neck. In fact, even if anecdotally somebody says there is a snake in our house, we will never be able to sleep, isn't it? Whereas he is actually wearing it on his own body. So a few other points about Ashlesha Nakshatra is special significance to in Natya Shastra. Whenever the Ranga Puja takes place, the worship of the altar itself, the stage itself takes place, one of the auspicious nakshatras is Ashlesha Nakshatra. There are 5-6 nakshatras are there. This is a special significance. The reason I mentioned is that in the setting up of the Bharatanatyam stage, at somewhere there must be an indication of a sarpa. And not only on the stage of the dance, but also on palaces and very important buildings. So this you will see not only in Eastern architecture, but also in Western architecture. There will always be somewhere the presence of snake in the architecture. And of course, Shiva also wears the serpent as his sacred thread, the Yajnopavita. That's why we, in our prayer, we also say Naga Yajnopavitinam. And the 3 strands of the sacred thread, Yajnopavita, also represents the 3 gramas of music. So many of you who know classical music, as you know, the Murchana or the melody consists of 3 gramas. The 3 gramas, either it starts from Shadja grama or Madhyama grama or Gandhara grama, and these are the 3 strands of the Yajnopavita, Naga Yajnopavita, that Lord Shiva actually wears. Now coming to the Adhyatmika or the philosophical aspect, the all-pervasiveness of the Sarpa, that which moves, slithers everywhere, is the Kundalini Shakti, which is awakened, and Kundalini is also mapped as a serpent. And then that Shiva is wearing Vasuki. It also indicates fearlessness. So the Adhyatmika of Ashlesha Nakshatra is experiencing absolute fearlessness, and at the same time with immense amount of joy and bliss, which is represented by music. So with this Madhu Sadrusha Manas, Madhumata Juhomi means my mind, which is very, very sweetened by the experience of this divine in my heart. With such prayer, I invoke Ashlesha to the altar. So that is our study of the Ashlesha Nakshatra.